Welcome back to the watch list. Semiconductors really were driving the market. There was a time when the semis were up, the market was up. Semis were down, the market was down. And we've certainly seen some great names run up, but they've since pulled back. And so now the question becomes, what part of this group are winners? Are they all winners? Let's bring our panel in. Michael Robinson, Chief Technology Strategist at Weiss Ratings, and Olivier Blanchard's with us, Research Director at Futurum Group. Thank you both for being with us. I mean, I think there's an idea that semis certainly can lead the market. I just saw an article on NVIDIA saying that NVIDIA was still a no-brainer when it comes to investing. Michael, what do you think?
Well, NVIDIA is one of the great chip companies of all time. It's just been an amazing player. You've got a kind of a bifurcated market, as it were. A lot of this rally in chip stocks that were really heavily focused on the electric vehicle market, you've seen that sort of slow down. Investors aren't as enthusiastic as they were, say, 6 months ago. We have this build out shift in the market for cars. Automotive chips are still going to remain hugely important, and NXP and OnSemi are both players in there. But so that sort of cooled the growth outlook for some of these stocks that were heavily invested in electric vehicles. And we've seen kind of NVIDIA in some ways suck some of the oxygen out of the room because it's all been about AI and not as much about automotive. But if we don't have a healthy automotive sector in the United States and globally, we don't have a healthy economy. So for the long haul, right, it's a great market to be in, the semiconductors.
Yeah, and look, we're hearing from some of these. Olivier, we're already hearing and watching for NXP Semi, for example, after the bell. We've heard from OnSemi. How do you feel about earnings thus far?
Nicole, I think Michael's right, and I really appreciate the fact that he's highlighted the automotive market as one of those important verticals. I think you kind of have to look at data center, devices, and automotive as your three core sort of pillars to the semi market right now. I think automotive is about to go through a few things. Quarter over quarter, we're probably going to see some softness this year, but I think it'll pick up again. It's not so much a question of EVs being soft or not soft as much as the software-defined vehicle. And the software-defined vehicle doesn't care what kind of drivetrain it uses. It could be EVs, it could be hybrids, it could be fossil fuel. But all of the chips and all the screens and all the capabilities that are going into vehicles, from telematics and experiences to ADAS and automatic driving, are going to continue to move forward. So I think it's all upside for the semi market. And on devices and data center, obviously data center is taking off, and a lot of data centers are upgrading to be able to drive or take advantage of the AI revolution. So that's not changing. So that's all upside there as well. And then on the devices side, we have a new cycle starting up soon with PCs, with on-device AI, essentially kind of like resetting the purchase cycle. So I think that's going to have a huge impact, but probably not until the beginning or the end even of H2 of this year, with an acceleration ramp into 2025. And same with phones, but it's a slightly different thing. So I think that the no-brainer is, NVIDIA. Don't sleep on AMD. AMD has an excellent GPU offering that's starting to eat into NVIDIA's market share, especially for data center. And then the CPU players are really powerful too. It's not as much of a volume play as the GPUs, but CPU is also essential for AI.
Yeah. I want to go through some names here because we did hear from OnSemi. In the meantime, Susquehanna, Deutsche Bank, and JP Morgan all have been cutting their price targets a little bit. I mean, by about $5. They've been pulling back a little bit. The earnings did beat, guidance disappointed. Is this a winning name, Michael? I mean, because I do want to get to the best of the best, and which names maybe are faltering. I know that we have different areas, whether it's the vehicles or PCs or whatever, but what did you think about OnSemi?
Overall, it was a good quarter. I mean, they're doing pretty well. I think it bears noting that the last full report we have for the global semiconductor industry was for February, and overall, 16% increase in global semiconductor sales. So there's still plenty of demand out there. OnSemi is a great company, and they give us some forays into EVs, data, power management, and things like that. They're all their products are essential for this modern economy. I don't think they're going to have a particularly strong year overall from a standpoint of earnings growth. So in that regard, you can think of from now to the end of this year as a consolidation period for the stock. I think NXP is going to end up with strong quarterly, strong annual earnings this year. I don't think it's going to be what it was before. There for a while they were growing, earnings 150% a year, something like that. That's not sustainable. So I'm looking for this year, maybe they'll have a 40 to 50% increase in overall earnings per share. AMD is an essential. You and I have talked about this several times in the past, Nicole. It's still an essential stock. It doesn't get nearly it's a strong number 2 in AI. Let's just lack of a better term. So, in terms of the price of the stock, it's much cheaper than is Nvidia, and they are a great. I mean, Lisa Su has done an amazing job with that company.
Yeah. And Olivier, I mean, we're waiting for NXP Semi. I mean, is that one that you would buy ahead of the game? And if so, which names do you think are the buys today? Because you talked about a lot of the concepts, and I know we even talked about, how things can expand in the world of AI and sort of crossover with semis and all that. But, which names do you like at this point now? Any thoughts on NXP Semi ahead of its numbers?
Well, I'm a tech industry analyst, so I'm not going to make any recommendations on buys, but I will say that I also agree with Michael here. NXP is kind of a long-term play, and they're not going anywhere. They're going to keep getting stronger, and the opportunities are going to keep coming. I think what we need to think about just broadly about this year for a lot of these stocks that have been doing really well, a lot of these tech companies that have invested well in the right pillars, right? The devices, the data center, automotive, and IoT. Is that this year is going to feel a little bit like a reset, right? Everything is going to calm down a little bit. We're coming back from a down cycle in PC. Data center is sort of adjusting to the change. And so I think everybody needs to lower their expectations a little bit about earnings this year, but look at the space and realize how much growth is coming in the next 5 to 6 years. But there are two companies that do attract my attention. It's Micron for memory, because you need memory for AI, and SiTime, which is a company that does timing chips for data centers and other applications that are essential to AI as well, especially with huge amounts of processing.
Okay.
Yep. So those two are worth a look, I think.
Good. Good. Thank you both so much. Great to see you both, Michael Robinson and Olivier Blanchard. Thank you.